7. You'll still have to. Good evening and welcome to the City of East Providence City Council meeting. Today is Tuesday, November 1st, 2022. Deputy Clerk, may we start off with a roll call, please?
Yes, sir. Councilman Cahoon,
He'll be late.
Councilman Morato. Council Vice President Rodrick.
Here.
Councilwoman Souza.
Here.
Council President Brito.
Yeah, Chair will recognize a motion for the City Council to meet and close executive session pursuant to Rhode Island General Laws 42-46-5A2 for claims and sewer abatement. Would anyone at this point in time like to make a motion to go into executive session?
Move to go into executive session.
Okay, anyone like to second that motion?
Second.
Okay, thank you. Deputy Clerk, do we have a vote?
Yes, sir. Councilman Morato.
Aye.
Council Vice President Rodrick.
Aye.
Councilwoman Souza.
Aye.
Council President Brito.
Aye, motion to go into executive session was passed by a vote of 4-0. We will now proceed in executive session and reconvene immediately following. Thank you.
Some lessons after.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the City of East Providence City Council. Today is Tuesday, November 1st, 2022. May we all rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
To the republic. Visible.
Thank you. Deputy Clerk, may we start off with a roll call?
Yes, sir. Councilman Morato.
Here.
Council Vice President Rodrick.
Here.
Councilwoman Souza.
Here.
Council President Brito.
Here. Next item, please.
Next item, motion to seal executive session minutes.
Have a motion from anyone to seal the executive session meeting minutes?
Motion to approve.
Roll call.
Yes, sir. Councilman Morato.
Aye.
Council Vice President Rodrick.
Aye.
Councilwoman Souza. Council President Brito.
Next item.
Next item is the consent calendar for discussion and possible vote. The first will be council journals. We're going to strike the executive session minutes from October 18th of 2022. We did not have an executive session. We're going to vote for regular meeting minutes, October 18th of 2022. And the previously approved permits and licenses as a read-in will be the mobile food establishment license for Matthew Lyons. The business name is Cluck Truck, and the business address is 256 Maple Avenue in Newport.
Would anyone like to make a motion at this point in time?
I move to approve the council journal as read.
Anyone? Quick roll call vote, please.
Yes, sir. Councilman Morato. Council Vice President Rodrick.
Aye.
Councilwoman Souza.
Aye.
Council President Brito.
Next item, please.
Next item, licenses. There are no non-public hearings. We have one public hearing. It's the annual renewal of miscellaneous licenses authorization granting to renew subject licenses excluding alcohol beverage licenses for the year commencing December 1st. Excuse me, should I say 2022?
This is a public hearing.
Upon application by license and approval by chief of police and as required by health inspector and other city officials.
And this is a public hearing. Anyone have any questions regarding the names?
I want to just clarify for the record, it's for the year commencing December 1st, 2022.
Correct. Yes. It was. Yes.
In an event that a name is missing from here, is that for a specific reason?
It would be that they do not have a current license in the city.
Or expired? Could it have expired for one reason or the other?
If the business went out of business, if during COVID they decided not to renew, things like that have happened in the past.
So again, this is a public hearing. Anyone wishing to speak for or against? I'm sorry. Please approach the podium.
Good evening. My name is Candy Seal, 1340 South Broadway. I wish to speak about license renewals. Specifically, there was a legal notice in the October 20th issue of the Post, which mentioned about the annual renewal of liquor licenses that Metacomet Country Club was requesting to renew their Class D club's license. I was going to speak here to object to that because the Metacomet Country Club has been closed for 2 years. And I wondered, and I thought that there should be a kind of a sunset clause on licenses with inactivity after 2 years. That was one thing I wanted to ask Solicitor Marcello. But then when I looked at the docket for tonight's meeting, it included a list for license renewals, but Metacomet's not on it. So I wondered if that was a mistake or if that's something that you and the clerk were just talking about this a few minutes ago that I couldn't hear. And I wondered if they had pulled that request or not. That's another question for Solicitor Marcello. But then I think perhaps another thing that's very confusing is that the docket for the public hearing on licenses, which the clerk just read, says it is for miscellaneous licenses excluding alcohol beverage licenses. So I wondered why there's even a discussion or why there was in the docket renewal for alcohol beverage licenses. I find it all very confusing. And I wonder if Solicitor Marcello could respond to any of this.
Regard to Metacomet, did they not? Okay. The clerk's office is the office that processes these applications, so unless they're brought to my attention, I would not.
I understand.
So if it's not on this list, they're not applying. So if they're not on this list, they're not applying.
Okay, so my second major question about if this public hearing is for licenses that exclude alcohol beverage licenses, is there anywhere else in the docket that I've missed it?
No, I did see that on, actually, you make a good point. So this docket does say excluding liquor license, and these are inclusive. This is Class A, right? Yeah. So these Class A and B and D, these are all liquor licenses, right? Yeah. So what I would do is, my recommendation would be just to continue this hearing to correct the agenda. No, I'd rather do it. I'd rather just continue everything to the next council meeting. Or we can just approve those. Why?
I would have to agree with Solicitor Marcello. It is very confusing and isn't advertised properly unless there's something that's going on that we don't know. But, you know, we do have the list here, but it's certainly not on the docket.
I agree.
So,
Just liquor license is something we need to make sure that we do correctly.
right, transparently. And
Transparently. So I would just,
so I move to continue the licensing for,
without advertisement, however, right? Because the agenda, it was advertised properly. It wasn't, the docket doesn't reflect. It says excluding liquor license. So as Ms. Seal said, the advertisement for liquor license was advertised, correct?
Yes.
The docket doesn't reflect that we're granting liquor licenses. That's the error. So. Yeah. So that's what we're going to do.
All right, so we have a motion on the floor by Councilwoman. You want to finish off your motion?
Sorry. I didn't turn-
No.
sure, no, that's okay. So, and on this list does not have Metacomet.
Right.
Right, so I make a motion to continue the
Quick hearing.
public hearing for the liquor license Class A, B, and C to the next council meeting.
What date would that be? Do we know? November
A,
5th,
B, C, and D, excuse me,
without advertising.
without advertisement, yes, correct.
We do have a motion on the floor. Would anyone like to say?
Second,
Deputy Clerk, may we have a roll call vote, please?
Yes, sir. Councilman Morato?
Aye.
Council Vice President Rodrick?
aye.
Councilwoman Souza?
Aye.
Council President Brito?
Aye. Next item, please.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. We could do one of them. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So with that being said, I move to approve, so Council President, I'm sorry, do you want to close public hearing on these non-liquor licenses so we can approve these miscellaneous licenses? Are we So my intention was to separate the two, continue the liquor license for the next agenda, but still renew the annual licenses for businesses.
I think, yeah, we should vote on the annual
So, yeah,
license
so if
for
you just want to
businesses.
close out public hearing and then I can make the motion.
Okay. Well, we're deferring it, so I'll close our public hearing at this point in time. So, Councilwoman, you want to make a motion?
Sure. So I would like to motion to approve
A license?
7B, which is for annual miscellaneous licenses renewal.
Anyone like to make a motion?
Can I just ask a question? I'm sorry. So are any of this licenses on this list that are not alcohol related? that we're granting?
No, these are all the costs. My apologies. Everything on here is the intoxicating beverage license renewal.
So this isn't for regular business licenses either?
The miscellaneous is a different one. This is just our liquors.
We don't have a list of miscellaneous.
Okay, so then I
don't-
retract my motion and we'll just do this all for the next council meeting.
All right, so we're good. We'll move on to the next item.
Thank you.
Send my,
No motion on the floor at this point in time. Okay, next item, please.
Next item, proclamations and presentations. We're gonna.
Is that Mike? Mike? Oh, okay. No, we'll do the, let's start off with Emily and then.
You
we'll
wanna do
go
Emily's
into-
first?
Yes.
Proclamations and presentations is a proclamation for Emily Rendine.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'm going to make the presentation on behalf of the council from the podium. Mr. President and colleagues on the council and guests here tonight, one of the more important functions of government is to support the education in their community. And this council has done that, I believe, for East Providence as much as possible. And while bricks and mortar make for good schools, I think that's secondary. The first thing is that we need good teachers in the building. And we have so many in East Providence. We're here tonight to make a presentation because the internationally famous Milken Group and Corporation takes it upon themselves every year to find good teachers throughout the country. And this is not an award that you can apply for. It is not an award that you can be nominated for by your peers. It's an award that the Milken, and by the way, excuse my back, family and everyone, but we might move the podium back. I think we're out of COVID. Maybe that's a talk for another time, right?
Careful.
Yes, I know it's still around. And there is only one teacher in all of Rhode Island who was selected this year. Milken does their homework, the corporation, they go out and they find the teachers that they want to honor. They have a formula, they interview people, not even the principal of a school can nominate a person. This education corporation goes out and they find people, good teachers, and they put money behind it. So this year, the very first award in all of the country was right here in East Providence. And it is also the only award that will be given out throughout Rhode Island this year. And the recipient was right here at our Hennessy School, teacher Emily Rendine, in a surprise ceremony. She didn't know about it. Most of us didn't know about it who were there. The representative of the Milken Corporation flew from California to East Providence, came to the Agnes Hennessy School, and didn't only come to make the award, but brought a check with her. A check of unrestricted dollars awarded to the teacher for $25,000. We tonight don't have any money to give you, Emily, but we'll give you a piece of paper and a proclamation from this city council. So at this time, I would ask teacher Emily Rendine, if you would come forward here to the podium as I read this. Whereas Emily Rendine is a recipient of the 2022 Milken Educator Award. Whereas Ms. Rendine is the first local teacher to win this prestigious award. Whereas Ms. Rendine began her tenure at East Providence School Department in 2014 as a fourth grade teacher at Myron J. Francis School. And Ms. Rendine is extremely involved in the community. She hosts an after-school dance class called Fancy Feet. We won't ask you for a demonstration tonight, unless you want to. She started a community garden and sponsors an annual STEAM event, which of course stands for Science, Technology, Engineering, Art, and Math. Therefore, I counsel Vice President Bob Rodericks, along with my colleagues on the city council, all equally do hereby present this proclamation of recognition to Emily Rendine. And it goes on to say that we've all signed it. Councilman Cahoon will sign it when he gets here. He's running late from work. So without further ado, we'd say congratulations on behalf of all of us. And we invite you to make any comments if you'd like and present this to you. I'll hold on to this until.
Sorry, I didn't know.
Only if you like to.
Okay, I just wanted to say thank you to everyone today who came and who recognized me. And I grew up in East Providence. I went to Francis, and when I was in kindergarten, I got to read my young author book here. So here I am again with my mom. And yeah, and then I've just loved teaching so much. This is my 9th year, and I love Hennessy and all of the teachers that I work with. And I'm so excited for what's to come. And I love East Providence too.
Thank
That's
you.
that.
Thank you.
The next proclamation is Anthony Texera.
I'll read the proclamation right up here. But only this time I'll face the audience.
Show me up, Mr. President.
That's why I asked you to go first. Just kidding. First of all, this proclamation this evening is to recognize Mr. Texera. Mr. Texera passed away last year. And I thought it was only appropriate that we give him a proclamation to really send out our love to his family for all the work that he did for the city of East Providence for the last at least 50 years plus. For those of you who don't know, Tony's Tire on Valley Street, Mr. Texera has been there since the early part of the 70s. This is his 50th year in business. His son Mike is here to accept the proclamation, who is now taking over with the company, is working over. I personally was introduced to Mr. Texera by Vinnie Spinulli. Vinnie Spinulli just so happened, your father just so happened to let me know that, oh boy, did you need a tire change? This is the place. And he used to go in there, read the post, and I used to see him in there constantly. And I've been going in there for the last, I can tell you, 5+ or even more years, to be quite honest with you, for a flat tire, new tire, or whatever it may be. Company's been there again, right down below from Monroe Tire, on the lower portion of Valley Street. And I thought it was only, right to recognize him, because here's a man who's been in business here for 50 years. He's dedicated. He was born and raised here in East Providence, spent all his life here, his business here. He raised his family here, his kids here, and never really wanted anything for recognition. Never. And when I introduced this to Mike and told Mike, I said, I thought this would be a good idea to present a proclamation. At first, he was a little bit hesitant. He spoke it over with his mother, and he said they thought it was a good idea. So I'm honored that you're here tonight, Mike, first and foremost. And secondly, that you're accepting this proclamation as well, because his father really didn't believe in taking any recognitions for the work that he's did, not only for his business, but his family and for, more importantly, the city as well. So I'll just read this very quickly, just to give you, some of you, an idea of who this man was and what he's done. He is City Council Proclamation, Anthony Texeira, whereas Anthony Texeira was a 1955 graduate of East Providence High School. He earned an All-State for football and wrestling. Whereas Mr. Texeira began his career as a service manager for a wholesale tire service company before establishing his own business, Tony's Tire Service Company, 1972. Whereas Mr. Texeira was a lifelong member of Cape Verdean Progressive Center. Whereas Mr. Texeira was the president and special police officer for the East Providence Police Association. Whereas Mr. Texeira was a proud husband of Edna Hayes Texeira, father of Donna Texeira, Barbara Sherman Texeira, Anthony Texeira Jr., and Michael Texeira, grandfather 5 and great-grandfather 4. Therefore, I, Council President Robert Berto, on behalf of the City of East Providence City Council, do hereby present this proclamation in recognition to the Texeira family, and recognition whereof I hereby set my hand for the seal of the City of East Providence, Rhode Island, to be here and done affixed this first day of November 2020. Mike, would you like to just come up and accept this proclamation on behalf of the Texeira family? Again, there's one signature that we're currently missing. I'd like to give this to you. Mr. Cahoon will be here. Councilman Cahoon will be here sometime later this evening. I'll get him to sign this. I don't know if you want me to hold on to it until he does sign it, and then I can always stop by and drop it off if you intend to leave. Okay, all right. Appreciate everything. I'm not sure if you want to say anything. If not,
everyone, especially you and the council and all the great people of East Providence and Monroe Dairy and my family. Thank you very much.
appreciate all your service that you give to the City of East Providence as well, and your family. Thank you.
I just want to add, I did have the pleasure of meeting Mr. Texeira a couple of times in down in the Wachamoket Square. He used to like to go afterwards and visit down in that area with some friends to just talk and have an after work relaxing camaraderie with friends. And he was a very sweet and humble gentleman. And I did appreciate his support throughout my years. And he is certainly missed by the community and those who knew him and were serviced by him and his family. So thank you again.
Thank you. Okay, Deputy Clerk, moving right along.
Public comment was already taken care of. She spoke during the public hearing.
Have no public comment.
No appointments. Council members. Update of the Squantum Pond cleanup effort discussion. And it's for Councilman Cahoon, who's not here yet. Do you want to skip?
We'll defer it till
Yep.
later on.
We have public hearings, ordinance for second passage for discussion and possible vote. An ordinance and amendment of chapter 18 of the revised ordinances of the City of East Providence, Rhode Island, 1998, as amended, entitled Vehicles and Traffic. The summary is to add a stop sign at Lakeside Street on northbound traffic at the intersection of Catalpa Avenue. Sponsor is Councilman Morado.
This is for a second passage.
So second passage, which means that this is a public hearing. You choose to speak or just you want the public comment going on at this time?
I
Public
just,
hearing?
we already discussed this. It's a
Okay.
simple stop sign.
All right, so
approval.
again, this is a public hearing, so anyone wishing to speak for or against this ordinance, it's a stop sign, please approach the podium. I'll mention it one more time before I close public hearing. Anyone wishing to speak for or against this ordinance, please approach the podium. If not, public hearing is now closed. Councilman Morado.
Make a motion for approval.
Second,
Deputy Clerk, may we have a roll call vote, please?
Yes, sir. Councilman Morato?
Aye.
Council Vice President Rodrick?
Aye.
Councilwoman Souza?
aye.
Council President Brito?
Aye, thank you. Next item, please.
Next item would be new business, mayor communications. And we have appointment of acting director of planning and economic development, James Moran, director of administration, Napoleon Gonzalez.
So due to Director Fazioli resigning from his position, James Moran has been appointed the acting director of planning and economic development. I'd like to present a proclamation. And proclamation reads as follows: Private Kearney, stand up and stand beside me. So Private Kearney is a member, active member of the Young Marines. And we could present to him the proclamation, the Red Ribbon Week. Whereas alcohol and drug abuse affect individuals, families, and communities across the nation, and whereas it is imperative that visible, unified efforts by community members be launched to prevent drug abuse. And whereas Red Ribbon Week offers citizens the opportunity to demonstrate their commitment to drug-free lifestyles. And whereas Red Ribbon Week began in memory of Drug Enforcement Administration agent Enrique Kiki Camarena, who was kidnapped, tortured, and killed in Mexico in 1985 by drug traffickers of his work to stop illegal drugs. And whereas people across the nation will demonstrate their commitment to healthy, drug-free lifestyles by wearing red ribbons, participating in drug prevention activities. And whereas the City of East Providence and East Providence Prevention Coalition committed to aiding in the fight against illegal drugs and those that promote their use. And whereas the theme of this year's Red Ribbon Week is celebrate life, live drug-free, and whereas ways you can aid in the Red Ribbon mission for keeping East Providence drug-free include speaking with children about the dangers of drug use and abuse, working together to set good examples for your children by not using illegal drugs or medicine without a prescription, advocates for the help of those who do struggle with drugs and alcohol abuse. Hereby signed by the Honorable Mayor Roberto Alba Silva. Private Kearney is a member of like the Young Marines. The goals of the Young Marines include developing good citizenship skills as well as promotion of living a healthy, drug-free lifestyle, both personally within the community year-round. I present this proclamation to Private Kearney, Commissioner Red Ribbon.
All right. Congratulations.
Great job.
Thank you. Okay, Red Ribbon Week, I'll present to the council.
Oh.
You want it now?
Yes.
Thank you very much for that.
Let them know. Thank you.
Young man, what school do you attend? Waddington Elementary, good representative of Waddington. Have a good year.
Thank you once again. Appreciate it. Next item is a Veterans Day event will be held on November 11th, 2022 at 11 a.m. Veterans Memorial Parkway near the Garden of Flags. All are welcome to celebrate our current veterans and memorialize those veterans who made the ultimate sacrifice for our nation. And the next item is the point of correction. The administration submitting a formal letter to the council. Some statements were made at the last council meeting about the police department, public safety communication budgets that were factually incorrect. I'm not going to read this letter out loud, but it accurately reflects the budget and costs associated with those budgets. If you have any questions, then please submit them to our office. Again, we feel it is important to respond to those inaccurate statements and issue a correction for the record. Thank you.
Next item, report of the city solicitor, the claims committee report.
Clerk, as you know, the claims committee, prior to this meeting, an executive session, the claim of Candace Scolio was denied. The claim of Jenny Dickinson was referred to the Pawtucket Hot Mix Asphalt. Claim of Angela Rossi was referred to Brown Energy. Claim of Nicole Barros was approved in the amount of $300. Claim of Dominguez was approved in the amount of $568. Sewer charge abatements of George Russo was approved in the amount of $609.92. The sewer charge abatement of Antonio Amaral was approved in the amount of $1,345.29. Claim of two claims of Lincoln Business Center were approved in the following amounts: $1,461.07 and $4,779.62. The claim of Manuel Gomes was approved in the amount of $902.16. Claim of Elizabeth Pereira was, the sewer charge abatement and claim of Elizabeth Pereira was approved in the amount of $673.08. And the claim of Cindy Johnson, in the amount of $747.40 were approved. That concludes my report.
Thank you. Next item, please.
Councilman Cahoon, are you ready for the update on Squantum Pond? Do you want me to defer a little longer?
Councilman Cahoon.
Sorry, getting readjusted here. This is the,
You want me to
let's give him
defer a little
opportunity.
longer on your?
is this the
communications?
Squantum Pond item? Yeah, sorry. Dan's here. So if we could, Dan, could you just walk through kind of the timeline of from the time when we looked at that pond to what we tried to do to ultimately where we are now? That would be great.
Yeah, unfortunately, I don't have the timeline from the beginning, but this application or, we've obviously received several complaints regarding the condition of that pond. I think Willett Pond was a great example of what we can do with treating a water body to help with algicides and invasive species. So several people from Kettle Point reached out, with concerns regarding this water body. And we went through the process of hiring a consultant to assist the city in developing and submitting a permit to CRMC, which unfortunately took a very long time. We saw a lot of delays similarly with the seawall with CRMC. So I'm happy to announce that we did receive the CRMC assent as of last week. And we are prepared to begin treating that pond beginning this spring. It's already too late in the season to do so. Treatment typically happens in the spring into the early summer. So we will have a PO cut for the same contractor that is doing Willett Pond. They're very familiar with Willett Pond. They've become very familiar with the pond at Kettle Point, and we'll be addressing the issues with algae and invasive species there come the spring.
So, and I think the timeline, I've got a basic timeline in my head, and you can correct me if you think any of this is wrong, but the first step upon receiving the complaints was to investigate a treatment that would work and that CRMC might find acceptable.
Correct.
And I think that the city released a PO for that treatment sometime in the April timeframe.
Yeah.
And then the contractor submitted the application to CRMC in June.
Yep.
Ish. And then there was lots of back and forth with CRMC as various biologists, et cetera, weighed in or didn't weigh in until ultimately we got the approval last week.
This week. Yep. Yeah, and unfortunately, CRMC is a little more strict with treatment procedures related to Rhode Island DEM. The DEM process, which we went through for Jones Pond and Willett Pond, was a 2-3 week turnaround time. We submitted, we'd like to treat this pond on X date, and within a week to 2 weeks, we received confirmation that approved, ready to go. CRMC is a little different. There are certain plantings that they actually don't acknowledge as being invasive. So the process of review is a lot longer to determine what's actually in the pond, so on and so forth. So that unfortunately is what caused such a delay, but we can now treat the pond for the next 3 years. So that's the plan come spring.
Thank you for laying that out, and I look forward to it not being a green mucky mess.
I do too. We should not see a single spot of green come the spring. You might see a little bit, but the treatment will eliminate 90% of it.
The actual color might be chartreuse. I'm not sure.
I would agree. And just to add to this, part of the reasoning behind this large growth as of recent is due to a lot of the runoff coming off of that parking lot. So we're actually, the engineering department, myself, are actually looking into some solutions to ultimately regrade that parking area and put in the proper stone sub base that should have been installed in that geotextile fabric. So part of the reason why you're seeing the green in that pond is because you have untreated runoff actually, entering that pond versus being collected in that parking lot, infiltrating in the ground and, recharging the groundwater. So hopefully, a combination of treatment and, properly treating the runoff will address these issues.
Excellent.
Dan, one question, if I may, Councilman, when I was looking at that with some of the residents and Councilman Cahoon, we were questioning the depth of it. It's probably not as deep as other ponds, and where I'm going with this is aeration something that could be looked at. We were thinking it wasn't deep enough, like Jones Pond or Willett.
You certainly could. I want to say the depth of that pond is right around the same as Jones Pond, which is a little more shallow than Willett. So aeration is certainly an option.
Possible.
But treatment is really and
First step.
realistically addressing the parking lot issue is gonna completely eliminate that, and that'll be
Okay.
a much more cost-effective approach versus electrical to that
Electrical.
pond and so on and so
Got it.
forth. But we can certainly look into it if.
Well, let's go with the first step and,
Correct.
yeah,
That's the intent.
thank you.
I think I'm still up.
But don't go anywhere. Yeah, you're still up to bats. Deputy Clerk. Next item will be DPW Director Dan Borges, vote to approve handicap parking request 85 Hazelwood Avenue.
Yeah, so we have two handicap parking requests before you, 85 Hazelwood and 39 Summit, both reviewed by the engineering department and obviously agreed to be brought before the council for approval.
We're voting on them on two separate issues, so we'll vote on the first, 85, and the second will be 39 Summit Street.
Make a motion to approve A, 35 Hazelwood.
A, 85 Hazelwood. We have a motion on the floor.
85 Hazelwood.
85 Hazelwood. Would anyone second that motion?
Second.
Deputy Clerk, may we have a roll call vote, please?
Yes, sir. Councilman Cahoon.
Aye.
Councilman Morato. Council Vice President Rodrick.
Aye.
Councilwoman Souza.
Aye.
Council President Brito.
Next one is vote for approve handicap parking request on 39 Summit Street.
Move to approve.
Have a second?
Second.
Deputy Clerk, may we have a roll call vote?
Yes, sir. Councilman Cahoon. Councilman Morato.
Aye.
Council Vice President Rodrick.
Aye.
Councilwoman Souza.
Aye.
Council President Brito.
Aye. Please.
Next item are resolutions for discussion and possible vote. A resolution in support of ballot question 3, green economy bonds. The sponsor is Council President Brito.
So we all know that question number 3 is regarding the resolution to support the green economy bond. For those of you who have already voted, I'm sure you know what this bond is for and how much it's worth. And for those of you who haven't, this would be a great opportunity to read up on it first and then make a decision at the polls. With that being said, I'll read the resolution. Whereas Rhode Island is a great place to live and raise a family, and whereas the beautiful Narragansett Bay, scenic waterways, pristine parks, picturesque open space, urban greenways, and nationally renowned zoo are a source of pride of all Rhode Islanders. Whereas there is a cost to keeping these precious natural resources clean and protected. Whereas question 3 provides $50 million in capital infusion to the Rhode Island programs such as the Infrastructure Bank, Small Business Energy Loan Program, Narragansett Bay Watershed Restoration, Forest Restoration, Brownfield Remediation, Open Space and Recreational Land Acquisition, and Roger Williams Park Zoo. Whereas these funds will help communities plan for climate resiliency, projects and prepare in order to mitigate cost damage. And whereas the cleanup, reinvestment and reuse of contaminated industrial or brownfield sites, protect the urban environment, removes hazards, prevents sprawls, and reduce the cost of stormwater flooding. And whereas the availability of parks, green space, and clean water has a direct positive correlation on the community quality of life, whereas the city of East Providence in just 10 years has been a recipient of 3 loans in the amount of $3.8 million and 4 grants totaling approximately $1 million. Funds help the construction, rehabilitation, restoration, and preservation of sites such as Pierce Field, Central Avenue Park, Lawn Holding Site, East Point, and drinking water facility improvements, including a new storage tank and pump station resiliency improvements. Now therefore be resolved in the city of East Providence, supported by ballot question number 3, and allow state of Rhode Island to issue a general obligation bond, refunding bond, temporary notes in the amount not to exceed $50 million for environmental resiliency, natural resource protection, and recreational purpose. Again, this is currently on the ballots for those who voted. I hope you voted for it. For those who did not vote at this point in time, this is something to consider for our green and open space. And the bond is for $50 million. I'll leave it up to the council if they have any questions, concerns, or just for a vote at this point in time.
No comments.
No comments? Okay.
Second.
Someone like to make a motion at this?
They
point?
did.
Oh, just did.
Sorry.
Cahoon,
I did. and
Councilman
Mr. Roderick-
Cahoon, I seconded.
Oh, you made a motion? You did. So second, I'm sorry. I didn't hear that. Okay, so we do have a motion by seconded by Councilman Roderick. Deputy Clerk, may we have a roll call vote, please?
Yes, sir. Councilman Cahoon.
Aye.
Councilman Morato. Council Vice President Rodrick.
Aye.
Councilwoman Souza. Council President Brito.
Aye, thank you all.
Mm.
Please.
Next item is resolution approving the submission of an application to the Clean Water State Revolving Fund. Sponsor is Council Vice President Rodrick.
Thank you, Deputy Clerk. Mr. President, this is just a request to go to the state revolving fund and ask for monies. The first resolution would involve assistance with our water systems, and Director Borges is here, but basically I can tell you very basic. This first resolution would request some $300,000 for lead service replacement, and that would be citywide at less than about 20 locations. And also citywide water meter replacement is, Director, is that the basic info?
Yeah, so 3 projects total for the drinking water side, totaling the 23.1 million. That includes cleaning and lining project throughout a large portion of the city, meter replacement for several thousand meters that are, close to the end of their life. So we'd like to get those replaced. In a lead service line replacement, we have about 12 lead services throughout the city that we're looking to completely eliminate. The important thing to note here is that, if we can secure this funding, the city is eligible to receive just shy of $3.5 million in affordable based loan forgiveness, principal forgiveness. So it's, free money for the city and extremely beneficial.
Can you repeat that? You said something about $3.1 million.
Just shy of $3.5 million, 3.465.
Okay, I thought you said, I'm sorry, I thought you said 23.1 million.
So we're requesting financing or loan amount in the amount of $23,100,000. If we get approval for that, the city is eligible to receive close to $3.5 million in principal forgiveness.
So the application process requires council approval of the application. So all you're doing is approving the submission of the application. There's no commitment to accept these funds, but right now we need to show that the city is behind the application, and to the extent that the grant is awarded, that'll be the next step. So.
And Dan, if we don't get this award for some reason, these projects would not take place. Is that
No,
correct?
they still would all. take
Not
place.
easily, anyway.
We've already, we're already eligible. We will receive the. principal.
Oh, okay.
Not,
Not a
no, it's
competitive,
not a competitive thing. East Providence is actually part of an affordability based loan forgiveness program. We meet certain requirements
so you can't go forward without council approving the request.
to submit these requests. Yeah,
Okay.
I mean, the $23 million is already built into the water rates. But I mean, this is just additional funding that, we wouldn't have to essentially, we'll get 3.5 million back in an affordable, in loan forgiveness. So we'd be doing these projects regardless. It just, it worked out that we're getting.
So the clean water and the drinking water, they're two separate, though, correct? Two separate applications. Would there be a principal forgiveness in the clean water revolving also? Or
Yep,
is the
there is.
3.5 for both?
Nope, the 3.5 is strictly for drinking water. The clean water financing. We're financing a total of so let's speak here. 4.85 million. That number, I have a letter here from Rhode Island Infrastructure Bank. We're eligible for 315,000 in affordable based loan forgiveness. That number may increase because that was only based on a $2.1 million request at the
Ask.
time.
Okay.
We've actually included as part of this clean water SRF application, we have 2.1 million allocated for Booth Ave slope stabilization project in Riverside, Bold Point Park improvements, and 2.75 million for the Rose Larissa seawall, the extension of the seawall past what is being currently done now.
Can you just repeat the Bull Point Park? Is that for the where we're having the boat launches itself? What was the amount? I thought you read it off now.
500,000, I think. I'm doing my math correctly.
And then the Larissa wall.
Rose Larissa seawall extension. Yep.
Okay, thank you.
Any other further questions?
Mr. Solicitor, these are down as two separate. Do we need two separate votes? Okay. So I would move approval of the first item. C2, submission of the applications for the Drinking Water State Revolving Fund, the purpose of infrastructure projects for up to a total of $23,100,000.
Deputy Clerk, may we have a roll call vote, please?
Yes, sir. Councilman Cahoon.
Aye.
Councilman Morato.
Aye.
Council Vice President Rodrick.
Aye.
Councilwoman Souza.
Aye.
Council President Brito.
Aye. Next resolution.
Next resolution is the resolution approving the submission of an application to the Drinking Water State Revolving Fund Program. The sponsor is Council Vice President Rodrick.
Right, and we've just discussed that pretty thoroughly, so not hearing any other questions, I would move approval of this request, the Clean Water State Revolving Fund for the purpose of infrastructure projects for up to a total of $4,850,000.
Deputy Clerk, may we have a roll call vote, please?
Yes, sir. Councilman Cahoon. Councilman Morato. Council Vice President Rodrick.
Aye.
Councilwoman Souza. Council President Brito.
Aye, just for the record, Councilman Cahoon, you second that motion, right? Did, sir. Okay, very good. I thought I did. Okay.
Next item is introductions of ordinances for discussion and possible vote. An ordinance and amendment of Chapter 18 of the revised ordinances of the City of East Providence, 1998, as amended, entitled Vehicles and Traffic. The summary is Section 18-307, no parking on Dover Avenue on both sides from Warren Ave southerly for 50 feet. The sponsor is Councilman Cahoon.
Quite simply, there are two signs there right now on either side of Dover Avenue. They're about 20 feet or so back from the road. This ordinance would push them back further, 50 feet. There are two businesses right on the corner there of Dover and Warren. Both of them have parking lots. There's really no reason to park cars right there, and the cars cause a lot of havoc. vehicles turning in from Warren Avenue and turning out Dover Avenue. So pushing them back.
Any questions? Councilman, you want to phase that into a?
Yeah, I'll go ahead and move approval of for first passage of item Delta 1.
Second that motion.
Deputy Clerk, may we have a roll call vote?
Yes, sir. Councilman Cahoon.
Aye.
Councilman Morato.
Aye.
Council Vice President Rodrick. Councilwoman Souza. Council President Brito.
Aye, next item, please.
Adjournment.
Mr. President, before we adjourn, if there's no objection, I just want to make a quick announcement. I was asked earlier today to make this announcement for those people who are here today and maybe anyone viewing. I think a lot of the community knows that our former superintendent of schools, Dr. Jackie Forbes, passed away a couple of months ago or so. And she was out of state when that happened. So there will be a memorial service that the family is sponsoring and inviting people in East Providence to attend. It would be this Saturday, that's November 5, from 12:30 to 3:30 in the afternoon at the Coast Guard House Restaurant in Narragansett, Rhode Island, where Dr. Forbes has some family living. So they are inviting anyone in the community to come. Again, that's this Saturday, November 5th. It's 12:30 to 3:30 at the Coast Guard House in Narragansett, Rhode Island, and that's for the former superintendent of schools, the late Dr. Jackie Forbes. Thank you for that time.
Thank you, Councilman. Anyone like to make at this point in time?
Move we adjourn?
Second.
Deputy Clerk, may we have a roll call vote? Adjourn.
Yes, sir. Councilman Cahoon.
Aye.
Councilman Morato. Council Vice President Rodrick.
Aye.
Councilwoman Souza.
Aye.
Council President Brito.
Aye, thank you.
Thank God.